Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Patience. In today's video, we'll be making this beautiful scrub V-shaped neckline ruffle maxi gown with side pockets. Before we get started, kindly click the subscribe button. If you have done that, let's get into it. I'll be using this fabric for this tutorial. It is 4 yards, and I'll also be using this piece of fabric on the neckline and the hem of the sleeve. I'll be using this pattern paper for clarity. I've gone ahead to mark my shoulder line. Right on the shoulder line, I'll mark half of my shoulder width plus ½ inch for sewing allowance. I'll come down by 1 inch, and from the 1 inch, I'll mark half of my armhole measurement, which is 8 inches. In order to get a straight line, I'll mark from the shoulder, which is 9 inches. I'll be using 3.5 inches for the neck width, and for the neck depth on the back piece, I'll be using ½ inch, and for the front piece, I'll be using 9.5 inches. I'll go ahead and curve the back neckline as shown, and for the front neckline, I'll go in by ½ inch from this 9 inches. And I'll connect it to the neck width. I'll be using this pattern to cut out both the front and the back pieces. This is the back neckline and the front neckline. Now I'll bring the shoulder measurement to the armhole line and connect it to this 1 inch, and mark quarter of my bust circumference plus ½ inch for ease and 1 inch for side seam on the chest line. And I'll mark the midpoint of this line, which is 8 inches, go in by ½ inch for my back armhole and 3/4 inch for the front, and I'll create my arm side, both the front and the back arm side, and I'll slant the shoulder. I'll mark my shoulder to bust point, even though the ruffle is going to be attached where the neckline ends. So if your armhole measurement is 9 inches, then make sure to make the neck depth 10.5 inches. I'll bring down this measurement to the bust line, connect it this way and cut it out. As you can see, I am not adding any sewing allowances on the neckline and the shoulder. Okay, this is going to help avoid gaping on the neckline. This is the back piece. I'll be cutting it out on my fabric on fold. Okay, I'll be cutting out the exact neckline and the arm side. I've done that. As you can see, I did not add any sewing allowance on the shoulder and the neckline. Like I said, it is going to avoid gaping. This is what it looks like. I'll just be joining the shoulder by ¼ inch. Now for the front piece, I'll cut out the arm side and also the neckline. So I'll be cutting this out on my fabric, and I'll cut this part on fold. Okay, and on my fabric, I am going to be making like a notch on this part, like ¼ inch notch. I've gone ahead to cut it out on my fabric. As you can see, I did not add sewing allowance on the shoulder and the neckline. And I've also gone ahead to mark this ¼ inch I said I was going to mark, and I cut it out on fold. As you can see, that's the center front. Now I'll be joining the front and the back pieces. I'll place the right sides this way and join the shoulder by ¼ inch like I said. I've done that. I've joined the shoulder. Like I said, I stitched on ¼ inch, as you can see. The next thing I'm going to do is to measure round the neck. I'll place my measuring tape from about 2 inches, and I'll measure to the midpoint of the neckline and times it by 2. I have 15.5 inches here, so by 2 is 31 inches. So I'll be cutting a band of 31 inches. I've gone ahead to cut it out. This is 31 inches length, and I added an interfacing. The width is 3.5 inches. Okay, I cut it out on fold. That is 1.75 inches. So now I am going to be attaching it to the neckline, starting from this ½ inch, ¼ inch that I notched. Okay, so I'll be placing it the right sides this way on the 1/4 inch, starting from about 1 inch. I'll sew round the neckline. So after sewing round by 1/4 inch, I am going to turn it over this way to the right side, and I'll make an overlap as shown. Okay, so I am going to fold in this 1/4 inch that I notched, and I'll iron properly. I'm gonna head to iron properly. So now I'll be making a top stitch. So I'll start from this point, okay, and I'll make a top stitch round the neckline down to this point, okay. So make sure the top stitch you're making is very neat. I've done that. You can see how neat it came out. Now I am going to cut out the excess. So like I said earlier, the ruffle is going to be attached where the neckline stops. Okay, so I'm just going to be adding about 1/2 inch for that. That is for sewing allowance. So I'll be cutting out the excess. I am going to measure what I have here on the back piece. This is 24 inches. I'll times this 24 inches by 2.5 for my ruffle. So also on the front piece, I have the same 24 inches. I'll times that by 2.5 for the ruffle. Now these are the front and the back pieces for the lower parts of the dress. The width, like I said, is times 2.5 inches, and the length is starting from 1/2 inch here to join the upper part. The length is 50 inches here. I added 1 inch, that is 51 inches. I'll be using the 1 inch to hem. So the total gown length is going to be 60 inches. I have 10 inches for the upper part. Okay, so I'll be attaching a side pocket. To cut that out, starting from like 1 inch here for the side seam, I'll place my hand this way and make a curve as shown. This is the 1 inch for the side seam. I've gone ahead to cut it out on my fabric, as you can see. And the opening is 7 inches. So I cut out 4 pieces. Now I am going to be attaching it to the dress. On the side seam here, this is the 1/2 inch that I'll use to join the upper part. I'll place my measuring tape on 10 inches this way for the upper part of the dress, and I'll mark my shoulder to waist, which is 17 inches. I'll go down by 3 inches for my pocket placement. Okay, so I'll mark what I have here. That's 10.5 inches. Now I'll place the pocket on this point that I marked. Okay, make sure that part you marked for seam allowance, the 1 inch for seam allowance, is facing down, as you can see. Okay, so I'll align it this way, pin it down. I'll be sewing by 1/2 inch. I'll do the same thing here. Mark the 10.5 inches and place the pocket the right sides, pin it down. So I'll be joining by 1/2 inch. I'll do the same thing on the back piece. So after joining the pocket, I'll use the longest stitch on my sewing machine to sew on 1/2 inch for my gathers. I'll make double gather stitch. I've done that. I've attached the pocket. I sewed on 1/2 inch and I've made my double gather stitch. I'm just going to pick both ends of the thread and make my gathers, and I'll make sure it is up to 24 inches for the upper part of the dress. After doing that, I'll be joining the upper and the lower part of the front piece. So I'll place the right sides this way and I'll join by 1/2 inch. Also on the back piece, I've made my gathers. Okay, so I'll also be joining the upper and the lower part. I'll place the right sides this way, and I'll also join by 1/2 inch. I've done that. As you can see, I stitched on the top stitch I made earlier. Like I said, the ruffle is going to be attached to where the neckline stops. So this is what it looks like at the back. Now I'll be joining the front and the back pieces. So I'll place it the right size this way and align the pockets. So I'll be sewing by 1 inch, and I'll sew round the pockets down to the hem. I'll do the same thing on the other side. I've done that, and I ensured these joint parts are aligned, as you can see. And after joining, I ironed the pockets. And I have also hemmed. So the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out the sleeve. I've gone ahead to cut out the band for the sleeve. The length is 5 inches, so on fold it is 2.5 inches. I'll be using the 1/2 inch to join the sleeve. Okay, I've gone ahead to cut out my sleeve. I have a detailed video on how to draft a basic sleeve. I'll put the link on the description box. The length here is 14 inches. I added 1/2 inch for sewing allowance. That's 14.5 inches. And the width, I added 1/2 inch for ease on my round elbow measurement. Okay, now I'll be attaching the band. So I'll place the right sides this way and pin it down. Okay, so I'll be joining by 1/2 inch. After doing that, I'll place it this way and I'll sew on the side seam. I'll do the same thing on the other sleeve. I've done that, and this is how it came out. Now I'll be attaching it to the dress. I have done that, and this is how neat and beautiful it came out. We have come to the end of this tutorial. If you have not subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Kindly give this video a thumbs up if this was helpful. Click on the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.